Hello and welcome to this 2013 Italeri Kit 083 Boeing F-18E Super Hornet 1 to 72nd scale full video build. The F-18E Super Hornet is a carrier-based multi-role fighter aircraft which is mainly used by the US Navy. The Super Hornet is a new development of the F-18 Hornet. It is 30% larger than the Hornet and more powerful. The first flight took place in 1995, production started in 1997, and the Super Hornet entered service in 1999. 608 aircraft have been built until 2020. The F-18 Super Hornet was developed as a replacement for the F-4 Phantom II, A-6 Intruder, and F-14 Tomcat, all of which have since been decommissioned. So the kit I built out of box, there was no other product used for this kit. So as you already could saw, I took already out the engine intakes and I dry fitted them before I glued them. This is always important, as if you do first glue and then fit them, there could be that you have after that glue on parts which you do not want. Especially these parts were not fitting very well. There were some gaps which need to be uh, filled up with some putty, and then a lot of sanding which you can see later needs to be done. The fuselage is divided in this kit in three parts. There is the frontal part, an upper part, and the lower part. Here you can see the frontal part which is being glued. And the nose, into the nose you need to put around 20 grams of weight, that the aircraft is then well balanced at the end. You can see the putty for the intakes, for the parts which are after the gluing not anymore accessible. Here is the part for the cockpit. Then I guess this kit can be also built for a twin-seater. This is a one-seater edition which has only the parts for the one-seater included. Therefore there is a long part which need to be glued there. You can see the sanding. Now we are at the cockpit. I will paint them with the gray already, as this part is needed before gluing the fuselage. Now some black for the seat. Now we'll put putty for the intake backer part of this part, as this is also not well fitting, and there was also a gap there at the front part which was not so nice. Overall it took around 10 hours to build this kit. I had over 6 hours of video material which I shortened for you to 20 minutes. This putty there which I now putting is not needed, as this will not be seen afterwards. This I did not realize at this part. The nose needs also some putty, as it's not so good fitting, and there were some gaps which will not look nice when you look on the front of the aircraft. Now we will paint the cockpit with the finishing black, and there will also be a dry paint for the panel. And some black for the seat, and afterwards some tan for the seat belts. So now we are cutting out the cockpit parts and we'll do a dry fit before they are glued. The cockpit was fitting very well. Now the sanding starts of the fuselage and the engine intake, which needed a lot of work, and also the nose. So now we are at the wings. Some parts of the wings are being glued before we can glue the wings to the fuselage. Now we will repaint this cockpit part, which I sanded, and also the front part with black from Vallejo. You can find all colors used for this kit in the video description below. This part was not necessary to paint before. The white for the landing gear section, as this I had repaint afterwards with the grey and need to repaint at the end again. I will glue the front part of the fuselage to the upper part. Holding together with some masking tapes. This is a very good method to hold things in place while drying with the glue. So here you can see now the gap at aircraft intakes, which required some sanding at the top of the aircraft intakes. After this sanding, it fitted well. Now we are gluing together the upper part and front part with the lower part of the fuselage. Also holding together with some masking tapes. Now the upper part of the wings are glued. This I also put some masking tape on it to get it closer to the fuselage, that the gap is not so big at the end. But nevertheless, there was some putty necessary and sanding. Now the vertical stabilizers are glued to the fuselage. With these parts, the largest parts are glued to the fuselage. So now I'm already painting with white the landing gear and the wheels. As the white of Vallejo is very thin, there are some coats needed until it covers the parts. So this is now the part for a cockpit, which is glued in grey as it's not accessible anymore afterwards. This is glued by now, and here you can see that the putty and sanding is not necessary there as it's not visible anymore. These parts here I glued on the wrong way on this side of the aircraft, but I corrected afterwards. On the other side I took notice of this mistake and corrected immediately on the other side. Now the parts for the armament at the wing are glued before painting the model. As if these things are painted in the same color as the model. On this model I put it first the canopy before painting. This has the advantage that if there are gaps between the fuselage and the canopy, it can be corrected. If you put it afterwards, it's difficult to correct these gaps. For this model I painted it with a black primer that I can do a pre-shading with the gray color. but there was some mistake with the gray color. I don't know what happened there, as I used the model color, which is not Fint, and model air, which is Fint, and there happened something, I don't know what correctly, that the color, according to the instruction, on the lower section was darker than the color on the upper section. This should not be, and it looked after strange. I needed to correct this. You can see an image of this color difference. Now the upper part is painted with the wrong lighter color. So now the painting is finished, and you can see a picture now of a wing which I took as example for the darker gray, which I needed to repaint the full model with it. Now I'm repainting the upper part with the darker gray. The lower part I have already repainted with the lighter gray. That then the end result is nice. On this model I did for the first time post shading with some lighter gray. You can see the result here. Even in the video it looks very nice. Now I'm painting the landing gear base and the aircraft intake in white, which I did already previously, but it was useless. So with this white, the painting of the colors of the model is finished, and I will put a clear coat on the model for the decals, that they have a flat fit to the model and the silvering is reduced. Now we are coming to the decals. The decals of this set are very thin in comparison with other kits. One minor decal I destroyed completely. The destroyed decal is not an important decal for the end result. There we mark the panel line difference in the vertical stabilizer. So now I'm gluing together the armament and the fuel tank. They are after painted in white. As the white of Vallejo is very thin, it needs several layers until it covers the surface. The model, of course, is then painted after decals in another coat of gloss varnish, and after gloss varnish, flat varnish. Again, another coat for the wheels and landing gear. Now the extra fuel tank with the grey, and the armament at the wings also with a grey. And now the exhaust of the engines with a gloss black for the paint of the steel color. Now I'm applying some wash on the model. This is the wash of Vallejo model wash. First you put the wash, and afterwards with some thinner to clean it up, that the result is more plastic. And there's a deeper look on the panel lines. This is the first time I did this, but I'm very happy with the result. Now gloss black for the front machine gun and also for the armament. Now we are coming with the steel color for engine exhaust and armament. Did also some wash on the engine exhaust. Now we glue the engine exhaust on the model. Then there is only missing the landing gear section and wheels, which will be the next part glued to the model. I glue now them already on the landing gear, that I can paint then the missing fields which are not yet painted black. Now some wash to the fuel tank, that it's in the same look as the model. Now I'm gluing the landing gear parts to the aircraft model, to the fuselage. This is a very tricky part, as they are very small and that they are often on the right place. And the last part for this model is the gluing of the armament to the model. This is also quite tricky, as both sides of the parts which are needed to be glued are painted. Then we are already at the finish of the model, which you can see now with some pictures of the model. I'm very happy with the results. I hope you too. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on this channel at next video. Goodbye.